¿Puedes contarlo otra vez?
Ya te lo he contado, cariño. Estaba en el bolsillo de Dios cuando me dijo: para poder encontrarte voy a tener que hacerte una pequeña marca porque hay un montón de Sandras en Dublín. No podemos seguir viviendo tan lejos del colegio.
Tienes que pensar que es algo temporal.
¿Qué estamos haciendo, Sandra? ¿Crees que esto beneficia a las niñas?
Yes, I think it does. I think it's very clear that what Peggy, the friend who gives Sandra the land, says when they're in the court toilet in the middle of the court scene is she kind of exposes, you know, the absurdity of Sandra having to try to force her child who has seen her father beat her up, force her to go and visit him every weekend. You know, that is kind of insane. I don't know whether there's a movement to change the law and prevent children from seeing their parents. I think that, you know, in both countries, what you see in the film is that the children are allowed to visit their father because he is with his parents. He's lost the house that they lived in. And so there is somebody overseeing those visits, and that's why the court are allowing it. So I'm not sure what legal moves are being sort of instigated to further protect children from partners, but I know that the courts are vigilant in both countries. The family courts are. Before Claire started writing this screenplay, she and I and Harriet Walter, who plays Peggy, were working together in the theatre, and we were working particularly with women in prison. And we met many women who had backgrounds of domestic abuse, either as children or they had committed crimes against an abusive partner and as a result ended up in prison. And one of the things that I think shocked us was hearing a woman say, I feel so much safer in prison than I ever felt in my home. And that when I hear that key turn at night in my cell, I feel safe. We then went on to meet agencies in both Ireland and the UK who were working with victims of domestic abuse. And we have shown the film to groups connected to those agencies, and were kind of moved, I guess, to hear that they felt that the portrait of the journey of this woman, her post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD journey, was, they felt, very accurately portrayed, as was the kind of corrosive, the sort of devastating, really, impact of this experience on the children being taught to lie to their father, being forced to go back to see him. And we receive very positive feedback. And when indeed we showed the film at the Sundance Film Festival, there were people who stood up at the end and said, this was my story. This was my story. And that was shocking and very overwhelming. Well, first of all, I've been trying, this seems odd because most people are trying to get bigger and bigger budgets for their films, but I've been trying for some years to work with a smaller budget, to work in the indie film sector, because in many ways, the social mission-driven work is what I've been doing in the theatre, and I wanted my film work and theatre work to somehow be coming from the same place. But sometimes it's hard to convince people. I think they didn't really believe me when I said I want to do something with less money. But it's not just about the money, it's about the freedom to cast who you want to cast and work in the way you want to work. Whether we'll be seeing more films like herself, I mean, you will hopefully from me, because this is the world, this is the sort of the place I want to now settle in, this budget level and this kind of perhaps more social mission-driven agenda. And as for the world in general, it's going to be hard. You know, the indie sector is under pressure at the moment, but I know that the advent of streaming platforms, you know, there is space. There is space for great stories. And we're lucky in the UK, we have public funding, BBC, British Film Institute, etc., that gets behind, you know, a movie like this and helps to make it happen.
¿Puedes contarlo otra vez?
Ya te lo he contado, cariño. Estaba en el bolsillo de Dios cuando me dijo, para poder encontrarte voy a tener que hacerte una pequeña marca porque hay un montón de Sandras en Dublín. No podemos seguir viviendo tan lejos del colegio.
Tienes que pensar que es algo temporal.
¿Qué estamos haciendo, Sandra? ¿Crees que esto beneficia a las niñas?
¡Ah!